Good morning. This is Diane Moore from the Chattanooga Public Library. Today we're going to talk a little bit about deadheading, pruning and cleaning up. Now this is a lovely fig bush. The sun's a little bright this morning, or tree, whatever you want to call it. But right in the middle, I have these dead, ugly sticks. Now I've waited a little period of time to make sure that there wasn't going to be any growth on these sticks before I decide to prune them off. There's a really good way to check, especially if it's something fruit bearing or blossoming and you don't want to take out something that does have a chance of coming back. So what you do is you go really close over here and you are going to scrape. Just scrape on the bark. See if I can get that closer. You can see it's just brown, ugly, nothing there. I don't really want to sacrifice any of my good branches on my figs or my blueberries. So what I have over here, and walk slowly past the blueberry and show you also some little sticky up dead things. Very easy to tell some of them because they snap easily. They break. A fresh branch is going to bend, but it doesn't want to just snap off the way these do. If you aren't so sure, and sometimes something will linger for a while, especially when we have the weird weather that we've had lately. Might look like it's not going to come through, and then all of a sudden, whoa, leaves, fruit, all that great stuff. You want to take a stick and scrape it where you are fearful that it may or may not be all right. And when you see that there's green, looks like it's alive and happy, well, don't cut that off. Your plant's probably going to come back. Now when you prune things, there's a rule. You don't ever want to prune more than about a third of the plant off. That can cause it stress. And yes, that does mean crepe myrtle. Sometimes people buy crepe myrtles that become entirely too big for the area and they need trimming. If you can avoid whacking them off so they look like Baba, whatever her name is, the house running around on chicken legs, try to avoid that. Eventually it will weaken the plant and it will suffer or die. If you can avoid it, please don't do that. If you are in the market for crepe myrtles, please look at the label. Buy one that's not going to grow 20 or 30 feet tall or under your wires or under the eaves of your house, and then you won't have to crepe myrtle it. There's a guy who writes a column called the Grumpy Gardener, might be Southern Living or Better Homes and Gardens, and he says as far as hydrangeas go, why on earth, aside from a little trimming, would anyone want to trim those as well? So again, try to pick a plant that will fit where it goes, and if not, the deal with hydrangeas is you want to Google this or call the ag department over there on Bunny Oaks or the library and ask for a master gardener. Some of them bloom on new wood, some bloom on old wood, some bloom on both. What you want to do is trim them up if you need to right after they bloom. Otherwise what you're going to do is cut off the next year's blooms. The worst possible thing that's going to happen to you, you won't get blooms for a season, but they'll come back. They're very good at coming back. They're healthy, strong plants. There are some exceptions to the rule. Hollies, I think you could prune those down to Middle Earth and they would still come back. And if you're trying to make some kind of a hedge with boxwood or holly or hillary or some other sort of thing like that, then it's okay to prune it to a shape because you're going to be shaping it and maintaining it. There are some things like roses that people think are very delicate. You have to be very careful with them. What I have here is a rose that was beautiful a couple of weeks ago. It's an older rose, so you can take cuttings, and it's tough, really tough. But most roses, if they start to languish or look kind of long and leggy, everyone has one of those. It's about 6 to 8 foot tall and it's got 3 blooms on it. You cannot over prune a rose. That's coming from the present and the past president of the Rose Society in this area. And I've done it myself. Had a friend who had a tall, spindly yellow rose with a beautiful flower, but only a couple at the top. I whacked that baby to the ground, and the next year she had a beautiful rose. You also want to go ahead and just snip off those dead flowers, and if you'll do that right about the time that they stop blooming, unless you're trying to grow rose hips for your wildlife, snip away and that rose will keep blooming, some of them all season and until frost. Roses don't mind cold weather at all. Now when I'm looking at this rose bush, I see on one side it's all tall and out of shape, and I am going to just, now that it's done blooming, I'm going to snap that right off. Now where you want to cut things is really important. It has a lot to do with what your plant's going to look like. If you just snip and cut something off and you've got a stick sticking up, it's going to be ugly. Here's a great example right over here. So what I can do, we're just going to whack that off. Ew, that doesn't look good at all. What you want to do is snip right above a leaf. That way, when the plant starts growing back, it's going to have green, lovely growth, and it won't look goofy. You won't have little dead sticks, because that part is not going to survive. It's just going to be an ugly dead stick. And I think I can relate to that right now. Maybe if I can make my bushes look good, that'll help me. I'm starting to feel like one of those characters in that superhero movie where the Joker put some kind of poison in all the deodorant and hairspray and lipstick and things like that, and people started looking kind of bad. Looking at social media, I think some of us are guilty of that. It's much easier to go clean that closet out or prune a rose bush or do that project you just didn't have time for before. And now I feel like all the people who own any kind of salons that help take care of you, oh my goodness, there are going to be lines for miles when everything is opened up naturally. In the meantime, if you have shrubs or bushes and they've got flowers or they've got buds or they're starting to make fruit and they've got a weird thing sticking out to one side like that, in the landscaping world they call those rat tails, go ahead and snip those off and prune up a little bit, but try to take into consideration the natural shape of the plant. If you'll do that and just trim it up a little bit, it won't fight against you and it will be much easier to maintain. Much easier than my hair is going to be when I go see my hair person. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and be safe and enjoy your yard.